thumbs up if you can hear me. Happily, we can't hear you.
Okay, now
Now we can.
You had me on mute, probably best.
Yes, the sound's a lot better than on Skype. You're drowning us.
I will speak very quietly.
I just had a text from Sandra Bates, whose train's running late, so she's going to phone into you, I think, and join us remotely by phone.
Oh God. Okay, fine. Is she gonna, do you know how she's going to call me?
No. Shall I send her a text? Say use mobile, your mobile.
Yeah, probably best, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Gosh, this is an excellent screen.
Look, you don't know what's going on here. It's the first time I've had a kick-off meeting with 2 video cameras up, a whole sound desk with crew, and half the people wearing carnations.
Well, I can see, but I can't see your carnation, Chris. Okay, fine.
I'm not a carnation man. Does she have your mobile? I shouldn't ask you a question like that, should I?
Does she have my mobile? I will see if I've got hers, actually. Sandra Bates. I've got hers.
Okay, good.
So,
Just ping her a text, say this is the number or something.
yep.
Right, in addition to wearing carnations and being filmed by a professional TV company crew, we've only got an hour and a half, maybe a few minutes more for this meeting, because we've got the room's being used for a signing ceremony for something else this evening. So we're going to have to get on with this.
But
Can I propose that we've got so many parties that we kick off with a quick word of introduction from everybody? I think everybody at this end pretty much has introduced themselves. So, Nick, do you want to go first?
sorry, just give me 2 more seconds and I will send this text. Sorry.
Does everybody have a copy of the agenda?
Yeah, we can share.
I've got a few spares.
We can have a photocopy as well, if you want. No, but for us it's fine. Oh, maybe they need it, right?
Have the agendas?
No, well, wait,
Rawapin? Rawipun. Do you have the agenda?
I think no. Yeah, my staff will do it.
All ready, Nick?
Yes, sorry.
Okay,
I'm ready now.
Introduce yourselves, and then we'll work around the table quickly.
Yes, of course, thank you. My name is Nick Michaels. I'm one of the partners at Jeffries Henry, and I'm joined by my colleague Sanjay Palmer, who is also one of the partners at Jeffries Henry, and we head up our capital markets team.
Hello. Yeah, thanks.
All right, you know Nigel, Lydia, myself.
Yes, I
Say
do.
a few words, and we'll just pass the way down. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Punapha. I'm
Good
CEO
afternoon.
in Slim Concept.
Good afternoon.
You can call me Alex. Actually, my name is Aliyapong Desanodkun. I'm COO of the company, actually. Nice to meet you guys, and good morning in London.
It's a very grey London, I'm afraid, as well.
Hi, I'm Pat Waraniman. I'm a CFO of Slim Concept Corporation.
Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Pachara Gangun. I'm from Renaissance Associate. Yes, who co-advisor. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dr. Wood, Warren Wood. I'm
Dr.
from-
Wood?
Yes, from Renaissance Associates as well.
Yep.
Hi, this is Supriya, or you can call me Oak. I'm also from Renaissance Associate.
Good afternoon.
Hi, this is Lat from PwC Thailand.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good morning there. I'm Roy Pan. You can call me for short RP. I'm partner of the Competition and Public Law, the legal advisor to the deal.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Chad. I'm with Kun Ravilan from the same firm, Competition and Public Law Company Limited.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Virapot, the same with Kun Ravivan and Chad.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Just sorry, if I can just interrupt 2 seconds, Sandra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and hopefully you will hear. I've put the speaker right next to the other speaker, so hopefully you will hear the call. So we've just been joined by Sandra Bates. Sandra, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone, apologies I can't be there on the screen. Next time I definitely will. So I'm a corporate partner at Floodgate and specialise in capital markets work, so I'll be helping you with the IPO process.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. Okay, look, we've got about an hour and a half to get through this, so I intend to kick off and move through it as quickly as we can. Otherwise, you might see something you don't want to see. Thanks for the introductions. Do you want to say a few words about the objectives in terms of timing and fundraising, or would you like me to sort of talk about that? Okay. Look, talked to Alex this morning. I think the objective is to raise, at this stage, for working purposes, a sum of about £5 million, and the object is to complete the IPO as soon as practicable. Look, for reasons that will become clear, this won't be a 4-month process. It will be somewhat longer, and hopefully we'll start to clarify how much longer in the course of this meeting. Mainly due to the financial records currently being those of a UPEAE, an unquoted public accounting entity, which needs to be converted to a public accounting entity and then to IFRS. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes, but that will delay certainly the financial side of the project. Okay, we've run through each of the key advisors here today. We don't have a PR company, so I'm being attacked by bugs. And we'll talk about that more in due course. We certainly don't need them at this juncture. Which does bring us on to the financial tasks. So we ran through the agenda briefly this morning, Nick and Sanjay, just to sort of give the idea some understanding of what this is all about. As I just alluded to, as if I get any of this wrong, please chip in. At the moment, they have some bookkeepers converting the accounts for 2018 and 2019 into public accounting standard, to a public accounting standard, and then again into IFRS. Unfortunately, they haven't started work on 2017 because they had hoped that the 3-year record would be 18, 19, and 20, but clearly that won't work. So they're going to now circle round and also cover 2017. I don't have an idea yet. I guess we don't have a clear idea of how long that process will take.
Obviously, we'll do it as quick as possible, but it's going to delay a little bit into the process.
Yeah. So look, the objective today, as ever, is to try and start drawing up a timetable. With it being the Chinese New Year here this weekend and all of next week, I suspect that the next meeting will be in 2 weeks' time. But in the meantime, we will circulate some sort of draft timetable for people to consider. So I will be taking notes today as ever, but you won't see anything for a few days because of the new year and the need to clarify how long it's going to take Mr. Wong and Son to prepare to convert the accounts from unquoted public company into public company. But obviously we need, and I've explained today, a 3-year IFRS record. Pat, who's joined the business, I think 3 weeks ago, is very clear about what that entails. Audit timing becomes redundant, I think. Well, not necessarily. When do you think the 2019 audit will be concluded by? That's quite important. Again, the first question is when will you have to draft statements, and then how long will it take to audit?
I think the only thing that we can focus on at the moment is really to complete the transferring from the NPAE into a PAE.
So in that case, the full conversion process will precede the 2019 audited statement?
Yeah.
Okay. How long PwC, you think it will take you to convert PAE accounts into IFRS and with an audit?
So basically, there are two different tasks, right? Converting and auditing, right? So for converting PAE to IFRS is not a big thing because according TFRS for PAE is some kind of similar to IFRS. Yeah, but the second task is about auditing, right? It's gonna take like more than 2 or 3 months normally. So after converting, it's gonna be auditing. So it's gonna be 2 steps, right? So if you ask about the timeline, it's depending on how quick we can finalize number in PAE and IFRS.
And how long would you expect? I don't think you're doing the IFRS conversion, are you?
Me, right?
PwC?
Yeah, we do not do the conversion, we provide advice.
Okay. And how long do you think that conversion would take from PAE to IFRS?
I think it's not going to be like, it depends on the transaction, but from my experience, it's not going to be a long time, like less than 1 month.
Okay. Thanks for that. This morning, Nick, Sanjay, I explained what the long form report is. Presumably you'll have a shopping list you'll want to share with me in the first instance, then we'll try and get that to these guys next week. Does that work for you?
Yes, that's fine. So can I just come back just to sort of maybe have a very rough timetable in terms of converting from to PAE? We're talking that will take how long do we think? Is that the first task?
We discussed that this morning, and after I got off the floor, Pat undertook to review that again.
Right. Okay.
The initial answer was, I think, 3 months.
To get,
Yeah.
I would say somewhere around the end of March.
But we're going to try and accelerate that as far as possible. This is
Yeah.
clearly what's sort of delayed this whole timetable, really.
So in essence, if we're looking at a few months to do an audit, a few months to do the conversion, you're sort of roughly saying that we would start our work in May, June? Is that what you're thinking at this moment?
Well, I'm hoping we can actually, when Pat revisits it, he can shorten the period of the PEA conversion. PAE, sorry.
PAE, yeah. Okay.
But if not, yes. So we're talking, if we don't shorten it significantly, I guess we're talking an autumn IPO.
Okay. And of course that would apply for the 17 and 18 accounts. So
And 19, yeah, all of them.
and 19, yeah. But those, the 17 and 18 have been audited.
The 18 and 19, roughly, at the moment, there's a draft going on. The actual audited 18 and 19 on a PAE basis would be concluded somewhere around end of March. That's what I said. Then we just realized that what Chris mentioned earlier, we have to be revisiting on 17 as well, in which the process has not started yet. So I would probably tag along another couple of weeks or so. So we're looking at somewhere in April.
Right. But sorry, just they have been audited to a standard at this moment, but now you need to go through the conversion. Is that right?
No. At the moment, it's the company has been doing accounting on NPAE basis, the non-public accounting entity. And then what we're doing
Does that not require an audit?
NPAE
actually required by law of Thailand.
So they have been audited?
Yeah, but not the big four like that.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
Local audit, yes.
Yeah, so it's a small local firm has audited these basically private company accounts.
Yes,
Right. Okay. But that's fine, isn't it? Or not?
It's fine.
I mean, that audit is still an audit, isn't it? Or is the audit of PAE up to a different standard in terms of, I mean, are they going to have to be sort of re-audited, or are they going to have to be sort of audited to a different standard?
I think the first thing first, once the PAE is completed, then we'll move into the process that PwC is supposed to be converting from the PAE to IFRS. I guess per the timeline, it's exactly what I have envisaged. I would say going to around sometime in April, and then hopefully PwC, as the representative has mentioned, that it's probably going to take another 2 to 3 months to complete. Is that pretty much what I'm getting? So we're looking at the whole auditing and conversion being finished sometimes in June, I would say. And then the process of the IPO can begin. But
Well, the financial part, we can
correct.
we can discuss the legals in a few minutes. But look, I think Pat's going to try and sharpen the pencil of the various accountants and auditors and see if we can improve that.
Right, okay, fine.
So, yeah, looking at a long form report, not on the critical path.
Okay.
Really, given we haven't got any numbers. I don't see any point in you starting now unless you do.
No, I suppose the only thing that we could start earlier would be maybe the working capital review.
Well, actually, I was hoping you might say that because that might be useful, and it would also give the opportunity to look at the FPPP. Because look, when we first met Slim Concept, he says great business, fantastic profits, but it feels like a family partnership rather than a public company. Hence, they've recruited very quickly Pat, who's got, I think, he's got an excellent CV and good English, and he's already instilling new processes. But I guess if you were to see those with him at an early stage, you can make sure he's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, fine.
Which brings us on nicely, therefore, I guess, to the business plan. We did start to discuss this morning. Pat, if you want to explain where you're at and how long you think it will take to come up with a 2-year set of projections, so covering 20 and 21, with P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow.
As I pretty much mentioned to you this morning, probably after Chinese New Year, just give me a couple of weeks, I'll try to put something together.
Because then basically that will form the basis of the working capital review. As I mentioned this morning, that is a private report, basically for the benefit of your board and ourselves. It will be prepared or reviewed by PwC. How long that? Sorry, no, you won't be. Apologies, wrong. Be prepared and would you prepare that for them, Nick, or would they prepare it and you review it?
I think we would prepare the report.
Okay.
So,
if you don't mind, in terms of the time stuff, I think it would make a lot of sense for you to do the working cap up front with the FPPP, and then we can use the time we've got to make sure we're all comfortable with projections and also the process, procedures and policies are appropriate.
yeah, I think that's fine. So roughly we would start that, towards the latter end of February is really what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think Pat's away next week, then back, so Valentine's the end of mid-Feb, Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day, somebody will give you a business plan. How nice.
That's very nice, thank you. It's a lovely present.
Chris, my word was, I'll try my best. It'll take around 2 weeks.
Have you ever seen a movie called The Rock?
Yes, I have.
You remember the line, losers say I'll try my best.
I have no comments on that.
Good, okay, well look, let's assume you get it in 4 weeks, we've got time.
Fine, yeah.
And then to prepare the working capital reports. Look, there's something else actually we ought to discuss here. I'm interested in getting your views and those of PwC. What became apparent this morning is that the company generates a lot of cash and is going to generate an increasing amount of cash going forwards. But the amount of cash they generated last year and are projected to generate this year is exceeded by the income they get from selling interests in their subsidiary companies out to third-party investors. So
Right.
each Slim Concept outlet is in a separate company, I believe. They start off as 100% owned, but customers say, I like this, I want a part of this, and buy shares.
Okay.
The sale of those shares generates more revenue than the company generates profit. How would you account for that? I think PwC is starting to look at this as well. He's nodding his head.
I don't have a chance to look at the contracts, but normally I don't think, I'm not sure, but basically we have to go through the contract because as you know, for accounting, TFS 15 has several type model of revenue recognition, so it's going to be point in time or over time, we have to look at it.
Because if that had to go through the balance sheet rather than the P&L, the numbers wouldn't look at all as attractive, even though the balance sheet's growing. I guess the most reassuring thing is the cash comes in, and these transactions are surprisingly frequent. It's not like they're just one-offs. Each of the subsidiaries is below 100%. The vast majority of the subsidiaries are now below 100%. And I think to date, the revenue from these sales, or the profit from these sales, is not quite clear, has been taken through the P&L.
So because at the parent company level, you would show a gain disposal of investment. So there will be a gain on the parent's only P&L account. From a group perspective, that should be the P&L, I think.
Yeah, but so it'd just be the gain element that would go through the P&L.
In the parent only.
And whereabouts in the P&L would it come through? Above PBT?
In the parent only, yes. If you have above the profit before tax, yes.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so what we're saying about that is, in IFRS, their initial view without seeing any contracts, etc., is that the gain, the profit on the sale, and we'll come back to how you work out the cost, you can take through the P&L. How do you work out the cost, Sanjay? So basically, each of these companies is initially a new company, and it opens a branch, it starts to generate revenue, people see it and buy shares at a certain price.
So the cost depends on what the original share capital was. So in terms of how many shares they were in place originally, and then the dilution, in terms of what's being issued and sold. So in terms of change in interest.
I guess the key thing here is it doesn't matter how many percent they own. The management is being fully controlled, 100% controlled, and are managed by Slim Concept. So they're just basically take the whole of a certain number of shares, and they're just waiting to collect dividends every year, and among other benefits that they have. But
okay, so yes, so you will still consolidate then as part of the group results because you have control, but we'll bring in, we'll take out the minority interest in the results in terms of their interest in the group results.
Yeah. How do you finance a store when it opens? By debt, I presume?
I'm sorry, by?
How do you finance a store when you open it?
Yeah, not by debt.
You don't lend it money from group?
What do you mean?
You want to go or you want to?
Oh yeah, this is paying that. You mean you buy debt, or you mean it's paying? They not buy debt.
Okay. Who pays it? Head office? The group?
No. Okay. Let me
I don't
try.
clear what you're asking.
Okay. Let me try to perhaps walk from step 1 to step 10 and see if it makes sense. Because I'm still a bit new, but I'm trying to understand it. And I pretty much concluded that this is the way it's supposed to be working. We build up a store, okay? We run the business. Then we just start generating some profits. We have clients walking in. All the clients love the concept, they love the service, they love the product, whatever have you. Then what they would do then is they would be approaching the owners. They could be a two-way street anyways. And then they say, hey, we want to take some interest in your company or in that particular branch company that we have just built. Then we would then value the company. Let's say different companies, it depends on different location, different type of clienteles, and so on and so forth. But the value could range from 40 million up to maybe 100 million baht per store or per branch. Then we would then tell them that this is the actual value that you would have to invest in. Am I okay so far?
Yeah, yeah.
Feel free to come in if
Yeah, sure, don't worry. Yeah, you
Okay. Then I have to consult with someone who actually knows exactly what went on before. Then after that, the share, let's assume we want to register the company with 10 million baht capital. So we register it, and then we tell them, you paid us 40 million because that's the value that we value the company. Then out of that 10 million baht of registered capital.
Actually, it was just only 1 or 2 million only.
Okay.
Never listened to 10. No.
Okay. Let's say 1 to 2 million baht. Let's say we split half and half. So they put in one, we put in another one.
Is registered capital paid up capital?
Usually it depends on the company. Some are 100% fully paid up, some are 25. 25 is the minimum.
Right. And when you set up a company on day one, you've got to lease the shop, you've got to fit it out, you've got to paint it, put the furniture in, buy all the expensive machines.
That's our cost.
And is that financed through equity into the company, or do you lend the company money from group?
We actually put in the capital ourselves and build up.
By equity or by debt?
Oh no, we don't have any debts on the book. So
there's no intergroup debt?
No, not at all.
So when you set up a shop, it's all equity?
That's right.
Okay, that makes it straightforward.
If you take a look at the company's financial later on, when you actually see it, you'll know that we have zero debt. And
intra-group debt?
Into the group debt.
Okay.
Or into any companies that you can see. Everything's being done on an equity basis.
Okay. Have you finished the 10-step process that you have?
I can go on, but I actually can go on, but I don't know, maybe this probably gives you some picture of what's happening.
Yeah. Okay, final question, Sanjay, for you. If they sell, say, 5% of a profitable store after a couple of years and the value of that store's gone up, it's making a lot more money, would the cost of the share still be the original cost, or would you look at some present value calculation at the time?
So in terms of accounting for the investment, generally you would account for the investments at cost. So you compare the cost with the actual proceeds you receive.
Good.
Sorry, Chris, what is the extent of these minority interests? How much do they range from?
The lowest owned company is about 20% at the moment, and the highest is 100. But the majority are about 75 to 80% owned. But I think each of them only has one director, which is Kanapa.
Yes.
We may need to change that to 2, that'd be something for legal DD, but therefore they have absolute control of each one, as was mentioned earlier.
Right. But those minority interests...
Actually, Nick, there is a slightly outdated schedule in the information I sent you on the company. That colourful presentation, towards the back, I think the penultimate page splits out the various companies, and it shows the percentages as was the case then.
I
can't see the percentages. I can see...
Oh, maybe I wrote them on my hand. Let me have a look.
Well, at the moment,
Oh yes, yes I can. Yeah, sorry, I've got it. Actually, the page prior to that shows 75, 20, 90, 85. Okay, I've got that. Thank you.
Perhaps I can ask the legal team to to come in at this time because they're actually working on the structure at the moment. So maybe that might clarify certain things, if that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Do you want to discuss now or at a later time?
We can start up to you, yeah.
Okay.
But the structure of the upper level of the structure upon the same concept, right? Do you have slide that I sent out?
Okay. So do we have
slide, presentation slide?
Slides.
The papers, you mean, the paper?
this one?
No, actually, okay, but because it would be a little bit complicated. Well, we have three concepts, right?
Yes.
And Taylor private foreign to
own
more than 50% of shares. So we have to structure the company in a way to comply with this law. We would like to propose that we upon the same concept, we have a Tyco Holding, and a company registered in Thailand to own shares in same concept 100%. So this would be the first layer. And upper level, we have another company. So it could be another holding, right? So this would be the second layer. And upon this company, the shareholder who own this company would be for the we will have a Thai individual who own 51% of shares on this company.
Sorry if you can't see, it's a bit small.
Yeah.
And the rest, 49%, would be owned by a foreign entity.
Okay. Look, we've come across this problem before. One thing that became apparent this morning, I just air this in case it's an easier solution, is that I think post-IPO, on the basis of the numbers we've seen, Alex and Gulepi are unlikely to have their shareholding go below 70%. So could you, in the articles, disenfranchise any ordinary shares over 50%? Which is how most airlines ensure that they remain in national control. Sandra, can you hear this?
Sandra?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I can hear it.
Chris, can you repeat your question?
Yeah. Most airlines, national airlines, have to be owned by one country, then licensed by one country. And the legislation tends to say that you have to have at least 50% of the shares owned in that country. And the way the airlines that get quoted get around that is they say that any foreign-owned shares above 50% are disenfranchised or lose their voting rights. Would that work for this situation? Because it's very unlikely to foresee, for the foreseeable future, the entire shareholding, i.e. Alex and Gulepi's shareholding going below 70%.
Yes, it's actually Thai individuals can have more than 50%, 70%, but they in that case, it would be considered as Thai national entity. So it would be in compliance with the Foreign Business Act, which restrict the foreign shareholding to be less than 50%. So if you have a Thai national holding the shares in the proportion of more than 50%, that would be okay. That would be fine.
And if we were to insert into the articles of incorporation of the top code a provision which says if for some chance foreign ownership goes over 50%, the element over 50% is disenfranchised. Does that work for Thai law?
No. No.
Sorry? I'm sorry?
I don't think that would work under English law.
Well, I've seen it. Silverjet do it, Ryanair do it, EasyJet do it.
I think that may work under the laws, for example, English law, whatever, but I think Thai law, that doesn't work. I think we haven't done that before.
So we need to go down the preference share route.
Yeah.
Okay, which is fine. Again, look, we've seen something similar to this. I don't have an objection to it. So
Chris, am I right in thinking that the sales of interest in the underlying subsidiaries is going to continue as a revenue stream item?
Yes.
In the business going forward?
Yes.
And is that going to be capped out to that level?
Well, this,
eventually,
Sandra, this is I don't know if you're aware, this is a different point to the one we were just discussing. But yes, the sales of minority interest is envisaged to continue quite extensively. But that's...
Okay, I'm just... So that's a separate point from this one, which is the foreign ownership point for Thai law purposes.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, it looks like we're going to have... sorry, the original question was for you, wasn't it, Nick? About the organisation of the group.
Yeah.
So the answer is there are going to be a series of holding companies, ultimately 100% owned by the UK Topco.
Right.
But in the intermediate subsidiaries, there's a sort of preference share structure to ensure that the majority of the shares are owned by Thai nationals.
Okay. On that group structure, Chris, so you have Slim Concept Corporation Company Limited, and then it shows to the right, it shows 93.33%.
I think 93.33% is the ownership of the family.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And that company, Slim Concept Corporation, owns 66.67% of S&P Trading Corp. Is that right?
I was going to ask that. So what is S&P Trading Corp?
It's a company that sells product.
Actually, it's also a company that sells the product. The products.
So just the products.
Yeah.
It's just the product division. Who owns the other 33%?
They are business partner. They are business partner.
Okay.
They're coming today too.
Okay. That's, at the moment, it's quite a small part of the business, isn't it?
Right.
I think turnover is percent of the group?
Yeah. 10%, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, but we're looking forward to expand it because it's just now underway of the online sales on there.
And do you have a shareholder agreement with this partner?
We do.
Okay. All right. Nick, any more questions on this? Well, back to you.
So sorry, to the left then, those are the individual outlets.
Stores, yes.
So stores, and we're showing there that therefore that ranges out, the ownership from Slim Concept ranges anywhere from 20.5 to 90% is what we're showing.
Yes, I think these numbers are slightly out of date.
Based on the unupdated version.
Okay. But obviously we have management control of all the companies.
Absolutely.
100%.
But, yeah. Okay. And I take it that's just going to continue, is it? So that will continue. If anything, those percentage ownerships will then go down.
Yes,
going
and
forward.
there are expected to be another 7 subsidiaries this year.
Right.
And so
Okay.
the start of 100 and each of those are expected to diminish.
Okay. So we have to look to see how we can take this through P&L in terms of selling off these minority interests. That's something that we just have to come back to you on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Okay.
PwC are looking at that as well for their audit.
Fine.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to discuss at the moment on the financial tasks?
No, I don't think so, Sanjay. No, I think that's fine from our point of view. And in terms of obviously the long form, then we would work off the back of Sandra's due diligence, really, or sort of the Thai lawyer's due diligence initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would envisage the business plan coming to you, say, within 4 weeks. Then you've got 4 weeks to do your review. Or 4 weeks? 2 weeks?
4 weeks, yeah. So really we're saying that the working capital side of it, we should have some sort of initial draft out by the end of March is what we're looking at.
And hopefully FPPP too. Simply
Yes,
because I think FPPP is going to need a lot of work by the company, and the sooner we look at that, the better.
Okay, fine.
Okay, good. PwC, any other questions on financial tasks? No? Okay, right, legal tasks. Current shareholders. The current shareholders, as I've just alluded to, 93% is the family. And how many other shareholders own the other 7%?
One.
One.
And it's well known for me. Yeah, it's that percentage. We really know them, so.
Okay. And do you have a shareholder agreement with them?
Yes, I think.
Okay, that will have to. Well, yeah, that will have to go as a public company.
Yeah. We will consult with our lawyers.
Sandra, if you want to chip in at any point, please do. But I know the intention, as we've alluded to briefly, is to put a UK topco in here again.
Yes, exactly. That would be the typical way of doing it. So once we've got that up there, the shareholders agreement will fall away. So certainly upon or before IPO. With nice diligence, obviously the terms of that to make sure that's clean. But is the other shareholder aware that this process is going on, or is there a plan to bring them in at some point?
Is the other shareholder aware you're doing an IPO?
Yeah.
Is he coming tonight?
No.
No.
Yeah, but just that actually they're asking me to run the whole process and everything. It's just this size of the shareholders is really close to me, and it's all the share because this is the billionaire. And just for the luck and things that he really does that. He just let us do everything and it's be fine. Don't worry about it.
No, look, it has to be covered by the legal DD, that's
Yeah.
fine. And the RP, your organisation paper, is that finished yet, or is it still draft? It's a piece of work.
It is still in the draft form. We are still on that.
And when do you hope to have that by?
Approximately, it would take approximately 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Because it'd be good for everybody here to see that when it's done. Thanks. Especially Sandra.
Yeah, Chris, that would be really helpful. And then what we'll probably do is have a call separately between lawyers. And apologies, I missed the start, so I'm not sure who is acting for the company in Thailand.
Competition and Public Law Company Limited. Rawapeen Chatti Wong, or RP.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
We'll send out a list of parties, don't worry.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, that's probably the best way to go. Once we've got some information, that we can work through any other points. But in big picture, we'll put a UK PLC on the top. We'll diligence the group reorganisation once it's been determined and sorted through on the Thai side. And it's only Thai companies. There aren't any other jurisdictions.
What do you mean jurisdiction?
Do you have a Bahraini company or a Cambodia?
Yeah, there was was a company in Bahrain. Same concept, Bahrain WLL. But it's not there yet. That's why it's not updated because we just opened it.
In Cambodia?
In Cambodia, we didn't. They just
It's a branch.
yeah.
We open next.
Chris, is there a structure chart? I can see the structure chart in the presentation, varies, but it doesn't talk about it in jurisdictions, I don't think, unless I missed it.
I think all of those, this is slightly out of date, and all of the companies in that chart are Thai companies.
Right, okay.
So what they're saying is they've just recently established a Bahraini company.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So there'll be an updated group structure chart with jurisdictions at some point.
Well, I imagine it'll be reflected on our piece of paper in 2 weeks' time. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I imagine we'll put in the UK top code by way of the share exchange, maybe as at the IPO or before, but I imagine the two firms of lawyers will advise on that in due course. Thai legislation, name. We need to come up with a top company name. Slim Concept's fine. It could be Slim Concept Group PLC, Slim Concept PLC. You don't need to decide today. It has to be PLC, a public limited company. Nobody goes public limited company.
Sure. Actually, we came up with the name already. It's called Slim Concept Global PLC. You don't like that?
Not really.
Okay.
Do you know any global public companies, anyone? In the UK? So there's airs of pretension you don't really want to give.
Okay. So
Slim Concept Holdings?
Okay, done.
Or Group, but you don't have to make that decision today.
Okay. Okay. We'll take that note. Thank you.
Thanks for your advice.
Thai legislation, we've dealt with that. That's basically the 50% point. Legal due diligence report. Sandra, I don't know if you heard at the beginning, but Nick won't be able to start his work possibly until June because the accounting record.
Yes, I heard that.
Okay. I still think it would be a good idea to go on with the legal work now, simply because this is a very young company, and let's find out the shape it's in sooner rather than later. I don't see any merit really, having reflected on that this morning over lunch, in delaying the financial DD. So, the legal DD. Sorry.
Okay, the legal DD, yes. No, absolutely, that's absolutely fine. So you'll need a due diligence questionnaire from us that we talk through with RP and and agree the scope of that.
Yeah, if you could bounce it off Tom as well.
Yes, I'll bounce off Tom first.
Tom
make
does.
some assumptions about jurisdictions, or we can wait for the new paper to come out and then we can be more specific in this.
It's all Thai at the moment, apart from one branch which was open a couple of months ago in Bahrain.
Yeah.
And they're opening another branch next month in Cambodia. Sorry, Bahrain's a company, Cambodia's a branch.
Okay, that should be fine then.
Okay, so I don't know, if we can see a shopping list next week, we can get the list to you by the end of next week, hopefully.
Yeah, that should be fine.
And how long do you reckon, Sandra, it take for RP to do the work? RP obviously hasn't seen the list, so a month?
Well, as you say, it's a newish company, so it really depends on the state of the documentation of the company. There shouldn't be masses of contracts. There'll be leases in each place, and there'll be terms and conditions. Maybe website stuff, but it should. I'm assuming it's not going to be too voluminous. But it's very hard for me to judge at this stage.
I'm looking at Alex here. Do you have all your legal agreements all nicely filed and contained in a central place?
No. What do you mean?
No, the answer should be yes.
What do you mean? The files and things?
Yeah, for all your contracts.
Yeah, we already uploaded in the Dropbox. It's all documents there.
Okay.
We have.
Oh, great! This Dropbox.
We have basically creating a so-called Dropbox, which is a central file where all the documents will be uploaded, and then obviously can be downloaded by the related parties.
And you're confident that's a complete Dropbox?
It works.
Has it got everything you want to have that you're aware of in it?
So far, That's not much, but we're slowly building up.
Okay, because if RP's team are going to start work on that, say the 2nd of Feb, will it be complete by then, or is that too soon?
We need to know. Well, I think we have the list from the lawyer already of what is expected, so that we'll just go ahead and try to prepare and complete everything as soon as possible.
Yeah, because if I'm going to try and build a timetable, I'm going to get RP's team starting the legal DD review.
Yeah.
When can that be by?
To be completed when you need it. Just
Beginning of Feb? Maybe the week after that.
Yeah.
You're away.
Yeah.
So the 8th of Feb.
Because I have to vet everything just to make sure that it's right before it's being uploaded. Yeah. Just give me until the 2nd week.
Yeah. Okay. 15th of Feb. Another Valentine's Day present. Okay, and then hopefully RP's team can produce a draft report. What basically RP, what will happen is Sandra will issue a detailed list of questions which I and my lawyer review, check is complete for our purposes, and it covers everything we're concerned about or aware of. She'll then send it to you, you agree with her, and you then just produce a draft report. As I was saying to Alex this morning, that's a private report, it doesn't get published to anybody, and it just helps us identify any issues that need to be changed or addressed before the IPO or need to be disclosed in the admission documents. And it's a fairly detailed report, and I imagine at the end of the process, well, as is customary at the end of the process, for all the advisors, certainly us, and I think Nick suggested he would need to see it, to review that report, and then have a meeting with you, ask questions for clarification where clarification is needed before the report's issued in final form. And I imagine if we're then doing an IPO that stretches over 6 to 9 months, there'll be an appendix for any updates or changes thereafter. RP's nodding, Sandra's not objecting, you still there?
I'm nodding back in the UK.
Yeah, nodding doesn't work so well on radio.
Yes, that's right. It will need to be, sort of continuous updates. It's what we'd expect to make sure we're covering everything off. Just to be clear for RP, the legal due diligence report will be addressed to WH Ireland as the nomad, as well as to the company.
And Renaissance and Winton, because we're all placing shares.
Correct.
Is it Renaissance or Winton that should be the addressee of the due diligence? Renaissance, just Renaissance.
And has RP got an engagement letter with the company?
RP, do you have an engagement letter?
We got one, but
Yeah, it's the engagement letter has been signed. We're in the process of paying them, so it should be fine.
I heard that it was signed, but I didn't see it.
Sandra, go.
Sorry, so can Tom and I see a copy of your engagement letter, please? Because we need to double check the scope and make sure that everything we need for a London IPO is in there.
Okay.
And include the legal DD report, but there might also be opinions on the local companies and other comfort letters. So we need to see that, but we'll probably need to expand the scope a bit and then explain to you what those are there for.
Understood, Sandra. Well, I'll make sure that you get a copy of that engagement letter.
Great, thank you.
Good. Okay, Articles of Association, I explained to the company this morning that basically the bylaws or the company's constitution, they are very standard for a public company. Sandra will issue those in draft. This is just for the UK Topco, and you'll see that at some point in the process. And if you suffer from insomnia, that's probably as good as it gets.
How dare you?
She will also be publishing a memorandum on directors' duties, which you must read. I went through a fairly, dare I say, anal presentation this morning on how we require companies in the Far East to behave, given the experience of the stock exchange with Chinese and Malaysian companies in the past. And I think these guys are going to be very good. They certainly took on board all the points we made. But there will be a memorandum on your duties and your responsibilities as directors of a UK quoted company. That you will need to read and understand. I did stress.
Yes, and I'll walk you through that, ideally in person, but otherwise, I can talk you through those along with the other directors, board, committee papers, etc. So that everyone's very clear on how the structure works. But it won't be anything unusual. It's just there's a formal process and comply or explain concept in the UK, which might not be familiar to you, but we can go through all that.
Good, thank you. Look, we also discussed briefly this morning the concepts of lock-in agreement, nomad agreement, and relationship agreement. There is almost certainly going to be a lock-in agreement, I think. It's not required by the AIM rules, it's a marketing point. I'm looking at Dr. Wood, but I suspect he'll want it. And I explained to Alex this morning, it's typically a 1-year firm lock-in, and the second year you can only sell through your stockbroker from time to time. The reason for that is you don't want a broker that doesn't know the market dumping the stock and hitting your share price more than you would want. If you have your own broker doing it, they'll try and do it responsibly. A nomad agreement is you have to have a nomad or an AIM quoted company. It's a pretty standard agreement, but that would be negotiated largely between Sandra and Tom Ferns, our lawyer. And the relationship agreement I explained we will need because it's always certain that the family will continue to own, I think, in excess of 70% of the business. And it will need to go, I explained to Alex, it's not that onerous, but it's something you will need. In fact, I don't think it's onerous at all, I think they're quite weak actually. But Sandra, is there anything else you wanted to add at this juncture?
No, I think it's good that we've got time to go through it, but I don't need to bore everyone on the call with it, but those are the highlights.
Look, I think there are a raft of sundry documents that will get circulated. I've got a draft timetable I'll share with people, but I don't see any point in doing those early on in the process. We'll do them later in the process. I think the focus at the moment is on getting the accounting records sorted out as quickly as possible and audited, and the legal DD concluded, and the FPPP, how many P's, concluded.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, good. All right, moving on to other matters. We sort of went through this morning. I was just encouraging the guys to please speak to UK advisors. Anything that worries you about the process, I think Renaissance have learned a phenomenal amount, but at the end of the day, if you've got a question that's impacting the AIM rules, you need to speak to UK advisors about it. It's just quicker because we'll know the answer. A good example was the 3-year accounts. We spoke about that before. We've had 3 years being done, not 2. Yeah. It's just simple things like that. Yeah. So please, and this is also based on our experience with other Thai companies, please just speak to us and stay in touch. Regular contact, that's that point done. Board composition. I think the intention on the board is that there will be a non-executive independent chairman, a chief executive, chief operating officer, a CFO, and a second independent non-exec director. Everyone's nodding at that. And I think Nigel here is going to take on the mantle of one of the non-executive roles. I don't know if you've thought about the second director yet or not.
I mentioned about it, Frank.
To Frank, okay. There's a gentleman who I've known for a number of years who has been a non-executive director of quite a few overseas companies. Some people don't like the risk. As an independent non-exec director, you're a long way away, and London's a long way from Bangkok, and quite a lot of people won't take that risk, therefore. He is experienced in doing this and is happy to take that risk. I think he'll work quite well with Nigel because he has a different skill set, which is more around corporate governance, AIM rules, process and procedures. So if you wanted this, we could certainly send you a CV, and I'm sure he would be delighted to do it.
I've actually seen the summary of his CV. I have no objection. I'll talk to my owners.
Yes, it's on the website.
Yeah, he's also on the website, correct.
He's a very timid soul. Okay. Now we need to conduct due diligence into each of the directors. I have with me here an early Valentine's Day present, questionnaires, which you can pass around. I've got them in digital, we'll send it in digital form if you prefer, but we need each of you to complete one of these.
By ourselves?
Yes, it's up to you to do it. Make sure you answer everything completely and accurately. We might photocopy an earlier version. And this will be used as the basis. We have to, under the AIM rules, we have to commission various on-the-ground investigative agencies, if you like, to speak to a couple of people you've worked with in the past, just to corroborate what you're saying in here. AIM is very concerned at all times about its reputation, and it wouldn't want a serial bankrupt or a crook to become a director of one of its quoted companies. So you have to fill this in. We need a CV from each of you. It doesn't have to be a long CV, certainly at least a page. Various passport, certified as genuine, and something to demonstrate your home address, the utility bill, for example. We will then commission investigations into your background to corroborate that, and that will conclude the process. Now, I'm not envisaging a problem, but the sooner we get this out of the way, the better.
Chris, just a question. You mentioned utility bills. Obviously here it's in Thai. Do we need to get it translated?
House registration?
And yeah, still in Thai. So
Or maybe if our peace team could just write the address in English and then certify it, that would be good enough.
Yeah, that's my next question. So
yeah, because our peace certification is good. I hope. Good. So the sooner you get those back, the better. Something to do on holiday. Or you're just watching the sea the whole time. We've also discussed this morning option schemes. We'll come back to that in future weeks to see whether the company wants to do it or not. Corporate governance code. You are allowed to have any appropriate corporate governance code. The overwhelming majority of companies quoted on AIM follow the QCA code, which we have a copy of for you. It's another cure for insomnia. Don't tell Frank I said that, he'll be most upset. I've got 3 copies. You're welcome to those. The Corporate Governance Code basically prescribes a way, an appropriate manner for a public company to arrange its affairs. The QCA guide, which is the one most companies follow, is quite subjective. I suggest you go away and read this, and we'll come back to it in the following weeks. You don't need to follow this. You could follow a Thai Corporate Governance Code if there is one, and if it's of an appropriate standard. But as I say, at least 95%, 90% of AIM companies follow this guide because it's quite easy and everybody in the UK understands it. I don't know if Dr. Woods or Ashwara wants to add anything to that. Sean? Would
I think he missed the question.
Okay. Would your investors be comfortable with a UK corporate governance code?
Because I think we should clarify a little bit. Majority they are the international institutional investor as well.
Yes.
So therefore I think they should maybe familiar with maybe international code in terms of the.
Well, which one would you, if you could perhaps take this offline with you, find one that you suggest is appropriate, and we'll have a look as well.
Yeah.
Because we have to agree between us, because it's not a rule or a requirement. But you are sorry. It is a rule that you follow a code. The code you have to follow is not prescribed, so you could choose an international one. What you want to avoid is one that's too prescriptive and not designed for a young growth company. You know, there's a bigger code in the UK. That's far too onerous for you. You wouldn't want to follow an onerous code if you don't need to. And that don't need to is from a market perspective, an investor perspective, and your perspective. Good. So we'll come back to that again in future weeks. Pre-IPO research, look, I've discussed the concept this morning that both broking firms are likely to issue a research note on you, which will include projections of your future financial performance. Those have to be, in the UK, they have to be published 2 weeks before you start marketing. I don't know what the blackout period is in Thailand. I think it's the same, isn't it? Do you have a blackout period of 2 weeks? Okay, well we need to, if you could let me know how long your blackout period is before publication of the prospectus or the admission document. In the UK it's 2 weeks.
But in that
Okay, in Thailand, as I remember that, when submit to the stock exchange or SEC, and maybe 6 months, something like that. This is you cannot touch anything about shareholders.
Yeah, no, I guess what I'm saying is, if you publish a research note, Renaissance,
or public research.
Yeah, when can you publish that? Sure,
I think around 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks before.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yep.
If you perhaps confirm that to me in the next few days, we issue the timetable. Okay. But we also spoke about the AIM Rule 26 website. Nigel made a good point that this is just investor information that sits on a separate page or section of your own website. You can sometimes have a group website that's separate from the commercial website if you wanted to. But it's a standalone section, and as Nigel mentioned, the financial PR company will normally arrange that to be designed for you to include all the various live share price feeds, etc. AIM rules and directors' responsibilities briefings. Sandra's alluded to the fact she would like to brief you face-to-face on the director's duties. I will certainly do the same on the AIM rules. Look, that'll be on a future visit. It'll probably take about an hour, maybe a bit longer. We need to make sure that you all understand the AIM rules. Registrars, we spoke about that this morning. In due course, no big rush on this. You'll need to appoint a small firm of registrars who will maintain your shareholder register, so you know who owns the shares. Because once you're quoted, hopefully the shares will be bought and sold in the market, so the shareholders will always be changing, and you just need somebody who's got the systems to control who's holding your shares and who's entitled to dividends, etc., and vote. Engagement letters. Each of the advisors will want to sign the engagement letter. I know we're signing now one in about half an hour. There'll be ones from Fladgate and from Jeffries Henry, and I guess we'll see drafts of those over the coming weeks. Format of weekly meetings. I think we've got to work out the timetable to work out if we're going to have weekly meetings. I can't envisage just having weekly meetings for 6 to 9 months. I suggest the next meeting call is in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully by when we'll have a much better idea on the timing of the financial DD, and we'll circle around some of these issues again. And in my experience, we achieve a lot more when WH Ireland is certainly in Bangkok, rather than where Nick is. Although this system is also a lot better than we've had in the past.
Oh my God, yeah, miles better than the Skype, obviously.
So hopefully you have the same system in your office. We'll be doing this in 2 weeks' time. And when we're having meetings, if you're all happy, I suggest we stick to 3:30 on a Wednesday. And look, I want to reflect on how often we do it, when we do the next. We'll have a meeting in 2 weeks' time. Thereafter, we'll see. But if we were doing the IPO in 3 or 4 months, it would be a meeting or call every week. That may not be the case here. What do you say? Well, I can't see that being the case. Draft timetable. We will knock up a draft timetable. I've been asking questions as we go. For those who haven't seen it, here's an example of what it will look like without any dates filled in. And unfortunately, this only goes for 3 or 4 months. It might need a wider bit of paper to cover the 9 months.
Chris, can I go back to the timing of the first meeting? I know you mentioned Wednesday, so I guess if you talk about 2 weeks from now, talking about February 5th. Keep in mind, the first and the second is the weekend. I'm back at the end of January, so I'm talking about a couple of days before that conference call. Just wanted to tell you, don't expect a lot of updates in terms of the business plan.
No, I wouldn't expect a business plan anyway until Valentine's Day.
I'll be talking about the, okay, fine.
It's just, look, I think what I really want to try and get to the bottom of sooner rather than later is the timetable itself, which is really hangs off how quickly we think we can do the UPAE to PAE to IFRS. Because everything else then will sit in alongside that. The legal DD will take 4 weeks from when it starts in 4 weeks' time, so that'll be done in 8 weeks. So that the bit that's going to define the length of the timetable is the financial due diligence, which is going to require the underlying accounts to be audited in IFRS. Everything else will sit within that period. So that's why, once we know that, we can draw a detailed timetable. And what we try and do is coincide everything to come to a conclusion at the same point, and try and minimise the impact on your time in the meantime.
Appreciate it.
Chris, sorry, can I just interrupt? An important point that I didn't mention was, will PwC be completing the audit files in English or in Thai?
In English.
Okay, thank you. That's a very heartfelt thank you as well. Thank you.
Okay. Early notification form, look, we've discussed this morning what the early notification form is. I know Pat's already done some work on it. I intend, while he's lying on the beach, to be working on the early notification form, so that when he gets back with his sunburn, he will see an updated draft to review. And the admission document is effectively the prospectus. That will follow in due course, but let's focus on the early notification form first to identify any issues. So I guess the key task going forward on early notification form, working out the financial timing and getting the legal DD underway and the director's due diligence underway. Is that clear to everybody? Look, that concludes everything that I've got to do at the moment. Sandra, anything else from you?
No, nothing from me, that's all very clear. Oh, except when are you aiming to file the ENF, do you know?
As soon as we're comfortable with its content.
Okay. It's a very diplomatic answer. Okay, no
Well,
problem.
look, I'm sure that will, as we start to fill it in, it will flush out points we need to think about, and we want to present the company in the best possible light. If we want to work out, we want to put in some financial information, we're going to have to wait till we've got those numbers.
Okay.
But if I can avoid that, I'd like to get it in sooner rather than later, just so we can identify up front any issues we need to address. Okay.
Chris, I guess, sorry, Chris, one aspect will be the fact that if we run past the end of September,
I know.
then we are. Sorry, yeah. Well, whether we just have those June accounts will need to be included in the document rather than necessarily sort of audited, but we just have to bear that in mind as we go along.
Yeah, look, Nick's made a good point. If the timetable, we did actually discuss this morning, admission is after the 30th of September, you will need to do an audit to June, or somewhere. The accounting records have to be audited within 9 months of admission, no more than 9 months before. So if we were impacting in mid-October, that's 9.5 months after 31 December, so you need to do an extra audit. So we have to make sure, to avoid that cost and hassle, that we impact before the 30th of September.
Otherwise, you're looking at 3.5 years.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay, that's all I've got. Gentlemen, is there anything else you want to mention today? PwC?
No, sorry. one aspect, so obviously PwC understand that we would need to review their files and they would need to issue what we call a hold harmless letter in due course.
Yes, we understand.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, Dr. Wood? Jared, Alex, any questions?
I'm okay, thank you.
I'm really happy.
In that case, everybody, thank you all very much for your time today. As I say, it's the first time we've been filmed in HD cameras with a sound desk recording the whole meeting, and we're in a carnation, but hey, you've missed that, Sandra, by not being on camera.
Oh, I know. Someone please take a photo.
Well, Sandra, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person. This is Pat.
Yes. Oh, great, Pat. Thank you. Yes, we'll chat one-to-one in a slightly easier format, I think, sooner rather than later.
Sure.
All right, well, thank you very much, everybody, and have a good day in London and a good evening in Bangkok.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
สวัสดีครับ
Bye.
Well done, everybody. You can relax now.
Well done, you two. Oh my God, you're so good, Chris. How many times you done this? 100 times?
Not that many.
1,000. 1,000 times.
Yes.
The agenda is, we have to,
Yes.
they can arrange this into a
Okay.
signing ceremony.